IMAGACT for All, competence-based extension of the IMAGACT ontology. Premises. IMAGACT provides a representation of the actions that are most prominent in everyday life, using prototypic 3D animations or brief films. There are 1,017 of these action types in the IMAGACT first release. This universe of actions has been identified through the annotation of English and Italian spontaneous speech corpora. These corpora comprise speech from real pragmatic contexts, which offer a good representation of how we refer to common activities. Actions that are more frequently referred to in everyday life are also those concepts that have more relevance for linguistic communication. It is very important for communication to know the verbs that identify those actions. This is the list of English verbs considered so far. It includes around 600 high-frequency verbs referring to physical actions. These verbs and their Italian counterparts have been processed, and the range of their possible extensions to actions have been identified and represented in a unique set of filmed prototypes. For each of the more common action verbs of English and Italian, we have made explicit the set of actions it can refer to. For instance, this is the set of actions that can be referenced by the verb to take. Metaphor and idioms have been avoided, and only the interpretations of verbs and their proper meaning have been considered. For instance, take time and take care have been discarded, and only the usages that represent the productive meaning of the verb are considered. By comparing the variation of verbs within and across languages, it is now possible to observe how verbs of different languages categorize the universe of action. For instance, the difference between the English verb to take and the corresponding Italian verb prendere has been made explicit. Prendere cannot be used in actions in which take is equivalent to bring and lead, whereas take cannot be extended to the actions in which prendere is equivalent to acchiappare. This information cannot be derived from bilingual dictionaries, but is a direct consequence of mapping English and Italian verbs onto one ontology of action. Competence-based extension. The universal language of images, which we have used to represent action types, allows us to connect verbs from any language to their appropriate action without passing through verbal definitions of the action concepts. The scenes in IMAGACT are very explicit and leave little space for ambiguity. For instance, a Spanish informant can easily decide which verb or verbs of his language can be used for each action. The relation between Spanish verbs and the verbs of the other languages in IMAGACT is therefore obtained without passing through a translation process, since it is the direct consequence of mapping Spanish verbs onto the set of scenes in the database. We have created an infrastructure with a clear user interface called IMAGACT for All that has already been successfully used to incorporate Spanish and Chinese into IMAGACT. The following sections present the implementation procedure for mapping any language onto the IMAGACT ontology using this interface.